Well, this one might get me blocked in very short order, but here goes. Let's welcome Dean Phillips, presidential candidate for the 2024 election.
Dean Phillips is surging against Joe Biden. This is where we started a little over 2 months ago in New Hampshire. Yeah, that's right, 2%. You know where we are today? 26% in just a little over 2 months. You know, the difference is all of you. Go vote in the New Hampshire primary on January 23rd. Change is coming. We are going to shock not just this country, the entire world, and create a whole new movement.
Dean, we need to talk about your campaign, your reliability, and your predictability. The obvious elephant in the room is that you are practically unknown outside of the borders of Minnesota, and your recent selective surge in the polls may sell well, but isn't really significant. But what is significant are the functional errors in your campaign. Until just a few days ago, your website proudly featured DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion statements. Now those statements have been replaced with verbiage of equity and restorative justice. Granted, we can discuss at length where the correlations between both positions are, but we can't overlook two particularly important perspectives. Position number one, DEI has been an effort of historic significance, expressed and anchored since the 1960s civil rights movement.
MLK Day isn't just about putting up a photo or a quotation. We should honor his legacy by actually pursuing his principles. And that's exactly what I wish to do when I'm president. We need to pursue policies that actually realize his dream.
Now, to pick up on your words, to honor Dr. King's legacy and pursue the principles as expressed, you have to consider that most people actually know what DEI terms stand for. Although undoubtedly as a society with systemic racism and deeply ingrained inequalities, we're really still struggling to live up to the expressed values of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Position number two, though, why did the verbiage actually change? Did you truly have a personal awakening, or is the influence and power of money at the root of your change? Now, allow me to answer that with some evidence. Recently, you were on Twitter Spaces in the company of Bill Ackman, and particularly Ackman is of interest here. He recently asserted his influence to force Harvard president Dr. Claudine Gay to resign. And almost immediately thereafter, Ackman's wife, Neri Oxman, was credibly accused of plagiarism and even admitted so herself in a Twitter statement. But rather than letting it rest, Ackman is now asserting his wealth to build a task force to examine the dissertations of MIT faculty, whereas he will likely not stop there with the aim to change university education broadly across the United States. What else does Ackman stand for? His radical opposition to diversity, equity, and inclusion. The connection becomes particularly important because he dropped $1 million into your campaign and stated that you need to be educated on the meaning of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Not long thereafter, two things happened. One, you dropped the DEI language from your website. And two, you actually floated the idea of cabinet positions for Musk, where you joined his Twitter Spaces, and Ackman, in case that you do get elected as president. Now here's why this matters, and again, 2 points for your consideration. One, per your own TikTok post, you are not here to serve A, B, or C, but D, to serve your constituents. Clearly, the influence of money and being educated by a staunch DEI opponent has made an impression on you, though, and caused you to change your position, thus not really serving your constituents, but your donor. And two, both Ackman and Musk are Trump sympathizers and populists. Both perspectives should stand in stark contrast to your campaigning as a Democratic contender for the presidency. Certainly, you can now spin this in any way you want, so let's unpack fact versus spin doctoring. Facts are, you changed your position after money exchanged hands and you were educated. Fact is that you stepped over the line by associating with populists, and it has not occurred to your campaign strategist that a corrective statement that distances you from Ackman and Musk and returning the $1 million are immediately needed. The impact is that you have practically overnight become unreliable. Your voting records, although overwhelmingly in support of President Biden's agenda, does not sway that you have sacrificed your integrity, intelligence, and you have violated the spoken and unspoken trust agreement to work for your constituents. So let's finish this, shall we? You are the CEO of your campaign. If one of your staffers may have made the error, it is still your error. You own the operation. You cannot spin yourself out of the association that connects power differentials and money from Ackman, the $1 million, and explain why all this is still a good thing. Lastly, you are unpredictable, insufficiently prepared to withstand the internal pressures, and therefore ill-equipped to handle any office higher than the one you've already had in Minnesota. And I get it. Some may argue that this is just a small ripple in the fabric of a campaign, to which I argue this is the preamble to potentially a lot worse. So with that being said, and the delay in you making any clarifying statement, Dean, it's gotta be thanks, but no thanks.